Kagan has strong-armed the axle this morning and forgot one thing important. We were only holding the pinion up by a hollow piece of pipe. Yeah, look at him. He bent my piece of pipe that we were supporting the pinion with.
Listen, you told me to take the bolts out. You didn't say anything about watching out for what was bracing it. I got a little excited.
Yeah. He does get excited. So there is a bent, what was a perfectly good straight piece of pipe, and it's no longer straight. Oh well, here we go. Good morning, everyone. It is a lovely rainy Saturday here in Southern Ohio, and after working second shift last night, we're up early here in the morning, and by early I mean we're here before 10 o'clock in the morning. So today we are working on the 14 bolt again. And Kagan is trying not to talk because he's afraid he'll say something we can't put on camera. So
I've already had one this morning.
This is take two.
Yeah.
So, in case everybody's wondering what we're working on other than that being the 14 bolt, let's go back over here. That right there is the International off there in the distance. That is what this axle is going under.
Is it going to remain red?
It's going to remain red, yes. And after watching, so last night got home, was kind of chilling out a little bit before I went to bed after driving home from work, and I watched Skylar's video on Ginger Auto of them driving their truck with the turbo hooked up now he's got his doghouse on, and I'm pumped. I said, man, I can't wait to get to the garage in the morning and work on the axle. So here we are today. We came in the other day and we built this one. This is our first airbag bracket. Went through a lot of design and everything, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. So today we're going to build the other one. We've got the piece made. We'll go through the explanation of it, and we will weld it on this side. We've put some crud cutter on this, try and get rid of the rust, because we're going to paint the top side of this housing.
So it will all fall off and go to the floor.
Yeah, so time the crud cutter gets rid of all the rust, we may not have an axle left, so, you know. But yes, we go through, put that on today, and go through the explanation of putting on our airbag bracket mount. So, hang with us.
And with the crud cutter on the axle, if you made a Chevy joke, shame on you. It was way too easy.
Fair enough. So, hang with us. We'll go through what it took to design this and why I decided to go this route.
Alright guys, we ran into one issue that was our fault, and I've never had one of these apart before, so...
May I add, the other day I took the other end apart because I had to take the hub over to Brian, and I took the keyway out. Just saying, I done it.
So, whenever we started taking this one apart, I didn't even think about it because it had snap ring onto it. We took it off. He ordered a special GM socket.
And I will have to say, I took the other side apart without this, but when we go to put it back together, in order to get everything back together right, I think it's going to be best to have this. It's like 25 bucks, but I mean, it is perfect. It actually guides into the axle housing and keys into that, and I was taking it out of the bag here. I'm sure, you know, there's several of you guys watching this have maybe had one of these axles apart before. I've never had one this far apart. But it keys right in there like that. I mean, it's perfect. So $25 part. I'm going to say you don't necessarily have to have it, but I like buying tools, so I'm a tool junkie.
But lesson number one, no matter what socket it is or how expensive it is, it will not beat a Woodruff key.
There it is. I had to find it. It's in there. Put it in there with all the bolts and everything.
Alright.
So there is a snap ring that holds this on here, and that snap ring goes on the outside right there. And then inside is this, And there's a place down here in the bottom, you can see that groove right there, that Woodruff key, or keyway, or whatever you want to call
I'm
it.
gonna flip over to the other side so that way we can
Yep.
show you over here.
So this piece right here will thread on so until you get to where you have your right end play on that, and then you will turn it to one of these points and put that keyway in there, and then put your snap ring on. Okay, so, and I gotta have the needle nose get that back out of there because I can't get it with my finger. But so anyways, that right there, shove it out like that, there I can. So, and actually that wasn't on far enough because, or no, it was on far enough. The snap ring goes into the hub itself and not on the end of the shaft. So that right there is what holds your hub onto your GM14 bolt.
But yes, that is what held us up, and we have now corrected the issue, so we're gonna get back at it.
Yeah, we are getting to where we're going to weld that other bracket on, but we wanted to go ahead and get the axle apart and clean it up some today. We're going to get rid of these brake shields, get new ones. We're going to clean up the e-brakes, even though we're not going to use them. I don't want rust and grease and grime and everything, because we're going to have an e-brake that's on the rear of the transmission, so we'll not use these ones. But I don't want them to be gritty and dirty and greasy and mess up the inside of the drums when we put the brake rotors back on. So anyways, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to get this pinion angle at 2.5 degrees. I'm adding shims underneath this, trying to raise this up, and I probably need to tighten this up here. That would help. But that's what we did on the other side, is we got the pinion angle at 2.5 degrees, because that's what we're going to have in order to weld that on level. Once we do that, it'll be, the bags will be right with, we run the frame piece level, where our pinion angle will stay correct.
Tell you what, it'd be nice if we had a straight piece of pipe. Why'd you bend that earlier?
I don't. What am I gonna do with it? So that right there is about 2.5. Maybe it needs a little shim, but anyways, I'll figure that out here. That's pretty good. So, but what I'm working on is, other than that, is over here, if you look, I actually tacked the two plates down to the table. They're 20 inches apart from outside to outside. I've got my center of my pieces of metal here lined up that we cut our openings in for the axle. I've got me a piece in there that is kind of keeping it 2 inches apart. Got my magnet set up here to where it holds everything nice and tight, and I measured off the edge of the table to the correct measurement. Well, I was. So I start moving stuff, and there we go. Yep. So 5.5 inch off the edge of the table, which has actually got me centered from the center of my holes, about 2 inches each direction. So that is the bracket, and I'm going to weld this up to where it'll stay in place, and then I'll knock these spot welds off, and then the bracket will be done, and this will keep it from warping. Got a little bit of warpage on that one over there. It's not exactly right. The airbags are a little forgiving. I'm trying to keep that from happening again on this time, because I've never done this before. I know, shocker, but I'm learning as I go, and I figured this way it'll keep these from warping as I weld everything in. So, live and you learn, right?
And while he's been doing that, I've been taking apart the emergency brakes and the rest of the ends of the axle, and we have parts out here being degreased and having a rust eater put on them, so that way we can make it look nice, which is also what's setting on there and all that niceness. That's probably just going to eat away the entire axle at this point. But all right, we'll update you here in a few.
done here is I've cut two of these that are 2 inches wide. I put one down in there on this side, like the other one. I'm gonna weld up, kind of strengthen my base there on that end. And I got one I'm gonna put on this side, but they really, hold on a second, let me get that knot off that. They really don't like to slide down there real well. So what I done was I took this other piece, wedged it open, and get that down in there, and then I can pull that back out. It's a little tight. The other one was a little tighter, and I'll probably clamp this one a little bit to kind of make it like the other one. But I'll make sure that's square in there like that, and I'm gonna weld those two up, and then this will be ready to put on the axle. Alright, so the bracket is no longer on the bench, and Tegan is my production manager today, and he is not as excited about it. But I'm going to give him the camera and we'll go through what I'm working on right now. Wait one second.
Technically, I was excited earlier, and I had a little mishap with some dialogue that I'm not supposed to say on film. And since then, I've kind of calmed it down and toned it down a little bit, and that's the way things have been.
Yeah, he can't get excited and talk at the same time. Things spill out that we can't put on YouTube, or we don't want to anyway. So,
Not that kind of channel.
I've already tacked it pretty good, and I actually started welding it in a few places. But what I've done was we clamped a piece of angle iron onto this end here to get a good measurement off the end of it. Because off that one I'm 13 3/4 from the end, and that balances out, gets us within the frame rails where we want to be. And so what I do is I set up, and we get shimmed, and I showed you this earlier, to get the pinion angle at 2.5 degrees. And then I lay my piece of flat bar across here, and this is at 0, or it should be anyways. Hope it is at this point. Yeah, something like that. Close enough? I can't see.
So you got your
Yeah,
2.5
we'll call that
there.
0. Sure.
And then It's a little
So
bit
the frame is
hard.
34 inches wide, and we're actually going to be inboard on the airbag mounts, about a ½ inch on the frame on each side. So that actually works out perfect right there. Puts us where we want to be. So now I've got this piece of bar right in here to kind of help keep it 2 inches wide while we're working on it. That way it doesn't. This way it doesn't warp on us. Of course now it can't because I've got it welded in a couple places, but I can't drive it out until I make sure I've got it where I want it for sure. So we are going to finish welding this. I'll burn this in, and then once we get that done, we're going to clean this up, throw a little bit of paint on this, because I have another surprise here in a minute that I'll share with you. And so once we get this burnt in, this cleaned up, and a little bit of paint on it, that way we can continue on.
Just look at that.
I know it looks nasty.
It's awful, but it's less rust than what it was before. So
Anything would have been less rust than what it was before.
I'm actually surprised we have an axle left. So I mean,
So hey, $200 axle. It actually was a Jasper remanufactured. The bearings and the hubs, everything looked good. It's just they probably got it and didn't coat it after they, you know, had the primer on it from the rebuild. And that's fine, that happens. But we talk like it's damaged, but it's not. It's still in good shape. So
we just kind of cleaned it up, and you know, it was like a 500-pound axle. We've taken all the rust off. It's now setting in a nice 475.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We got to add something back to it.
That's true.
So we'll finish burning this in. We'll clean this up, put the paint on it, and then we will show you guys the surprise we have in store after this is on.
Is it lunch?
That will probably happen somewhere in the midst of all that. Fat guy's got to eat, right?
Ah, that I do. That I do. All right. Well,
hang with us.
Yep.
Gonna let that cool down a little while. That's a lot of heat to be putting on that spot of that axle at one time.
Hey guys, we are. Oh, were you supposed to go? Or was
No, I was letting you run with it, man.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to show what he's welded on and explain to you some stuff, and then he has something for you guys.
So really now, other than the panhard bar connection, our brackets are all welded on this, ready to go. I'm planning on maybe doing some eye truss, maybe a little short one here to kind of add some strength to the axle. Just because there is going to be a point where your weight's applied out here, suspension's in here, there's a long leverage point here, and I want to strengthen that, make sure we don't have any issues. But because we're talking about strengthening, we now have our surprise. Hagen, if you would please. I bought something the other day, which if you follow our social media, you've seen the box, but from Barnes 4-wheel drive, we got this 14-bolt axle truss, and I've already, because we have the airbag brackets, I've cut in here, and that way that'll slip over the bracket. I've had to knock the ends of this off, and I knocked this end off right here That way it would clear the bracket, and we will weld everything together. We put a little paint over this and on the inside of that. And that right there is pretty much it. So that'll help strengthen everything in between the airbag brackets. By the time I weld this in here and weld here, I'll bring my plate pretty well even with that here, and that way it won't mess with the bump stop too much. But so we'll go from that, put our flats on here for our bump stop, and then come on this way with the strengthener, and this will really make this axle stand up to whatever we put on the bed of this truck whenever I get it built. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet, we are obviously trying to get subscribers, and if you haven't liked this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button.
It should be like right down in that corner.
Down there someplace?
Yeah.
With the subscribe button too?
Yeah.
So also check out our social media so you can kind of get some teasers ahead of time, because you know, a few days ago when I posted this on our social media, people got to see the Barnes 4-wheel drive box and kind of knew something was up, and people seen these airbag brackets before we worked on them. So there's pictures of some stuff going on, but before we put the videos out. So
Listen, I'm not saying we're as good as, like, you know, some of the games or anything else that you always have on your phone, but you got it. You might as well use it. We're interesting, at least.
I wouldn't classify us as interesting, but Kagan will hurt himself occasionally, and that's fun for me anyways.
Only the left hand.
So thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate it. Like I said, hit that like and subscribe down there, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah.